are you?
Good, and you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Finally, right? We were able to get this
Yes.
done. I hope all is well. Um, thank
Yes.
you, thank you
Everything's
for
going well for
being
me.
thank you for being a guest here at One on One with Courtney Starks. I'm so happy to have you. How are you? How has the week been? Because I just feel like for some of us it has been long and drawn out. So how has it been for you?
This week has been going well. Last week I had my internship, so this week I've just been resting, and that's been really great.
Much needed, right? Because, guys, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not just talking to anybody. I am talking to two-time daytime Emmy nominee Sydney Mikayla. If you guys don't know who she is, you're gonna get to know right now. You're gonna get to know today. Um,
Yes.
let's just kind of scale back a bit and just talk about growing up in Southern California, um, and all that entails. How was that for you growing up in there? And at what point did you realize that you wanted to get into something we like to call acting?
Okay, well, I grew up in Inglewood, California. I feel like not a lot of people let me talk about that, so it's really dope to say I grew up in Inglewood. Obviously, some of the greats come from there,
Come
from
on.
South Central, so it's super dope to be part of that community to say, like, I'm from there, and I really love that. And I started acting when I was 5. The first thing I did was Yo Gabba Gabba. So
Yeah.
my mom was an actress, and she put me into acting. And I remember the coolest thing when I knew I really wanted to act was when I did the Gabby Douglas story. Just
Yeah.
working on like a feature film for the first time was so incredible. Working with Gabby Douglas, I'll never forget
Hmm.
the limo pulling up to my house to take me to the airport. I was like, oh, I made it! Like this is so cool.
You
So
know something? It's so amazing that people sometimes when your parents kind of push you into something. I know over here in the East Coast, we do this thing called rebel, right? Like, I'm sorry, mom, dad, I'm just not doing this. I don't care what
great.
you're talking about. So when for you, your mom kind of like motivating you to get into this, was there a like a tuss at first, like, mom, I don't want to do this? Or was it something that you saw and was like, wow, I want to do that?
I don't really know that it clicked for me when I was younger of what I was doing. Maybe I went to public school at the time, so it was more so like you got to miss school for a day. You had
Yeah.
unlimited food on these sets. School was a lot shorter because even though you had to do 3 hours of school, that's shorter than a 7 hour day.
Yeah.
And you got to say these lines. Obviously when I was younger, I couldn't wear makeup, so it's like someone's doing
Hmm.
makeup for me, getting clothes for me. So I don't think I really registered like it was a job that I was getting paid for. I think when
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
younger, it was like just getting like playing pretend. Like my mom was
Hmm.
taking me somewhere to play pretend with free food, so I wasn't really complaining.
And see, that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Free food. Like, that was it. That was the sign still delivered on the check. Like, just make
It's
sure I eat, and whatever happens, just happens.
it's true. And then like the more like the bigger budget things are, usually the food will be like made to order. So like if it's an
Mm,
ice cream thing, you'll make your own ice cream bar. If it's like I don't know Thai food or something like
yeah.
that, like it'll be made like whatever you want, they'll make it for you. Even if you're just saying one line, as soon as you're like
Nice.
considered like principal or whatever. So I remember when I was
Hmm.
younger, I'm like,
That's nice, nice. So this is kind of piggyback of what you were saying, the Gabby Douglas story. I remember watching that and being like, wow, right? Because there were so many like things that made up this
yeah,
movie, and it was so heartwarming. But for me, I was a little jealous because you got to work with Regina King, and I love her. I love her. How was it working side by side with such an icon?
well, it was also cool to find out that we were really intertwined. We actually
Mm,
went to the same elementary school, and I was
nice.
going there to that elementary school as she was telling me about it, which was really cool. So we just kind of had that connection, and both her and or her son and I, who her son may rest in peace, actually
Yeah.
went to the same like acting conservatory as well. So it was really cool to find out that our lives were so intertwined, and it was really
Hmm.
beautiful. Um, and she just had such a great air about her, and I'll never forget her professionalism that she brought to
Yeah.
the set, as well as like that maternal energy was really beautiful.
That's amazing, and kind of being like the mentor, right? Like taking you under her wing and kind of teaching you these things. What is one piece of advice that you can say that she gave you that you carried all of this time?
You have to go full out every time that you act.
Mm,
Sometimes we'll have these things called close ups. in TV or film world where the other actor really won't be seen, especially if it's like a two-person scene. It'll
Yeah.
just be that actor, and it's like you need to still be there, still be present, and still give the person the same acting, the same feel as though you're both on camera. And I really took that into consideration, especially when it came to like my soap opera working world, just to
Yeah.
continue to be conscientious of other people and make sure that you're giving the other actor, that same life that they need to
Yeah.
continue the scene. Because when one person looks good, you both look good. So
Yeah.
that's something I always took with me, and I'm really grateful.
That's so true. And like and you can see that on screen, right? If it's not authentic, like if you're so focused on your lines and your character and kind of shining, you can see that the dynamic is lost, So
Right.
I love that. I love that advice. And since you brought it up, let's talk about General Hospital. First of all,
Sounds good.
I think that's my favorite show of all time. And I've watched One
Oh,
Life to
wow.
Live. I've watched them all. Like growing up, my grandmother, at first I thought it was punishment, right? But as you're sitting there and you're watching, you're like, okay, so let me get this bag of chips, right? And then all of a sudden you are engulfed in the characters because Sonny is my uncle. I don't care what no one says. You know what I mean? Like I ended up enjoying these things as a child. So to
Yes.
grow up and to kind of, see that you will become a part of this, what was it like playing Trina Robinson? And how did that kind of help you develop as an actress and grow you to where you are right now?
Oh, wow. Great question. It was really incredible. I think I really enjoyed it because up until then, I don't feel like I had played many characters with depth besides young Gabby Douglas. I
Yeah.
especially think during that time before 2020, it was not a lot of roles that weren't stereotypical for Black
Mm-hmm.
girls. So it was just a lot of like sassy one-liners and eye rolls and things like that weren't
Yeah.
really fulfilling and didn't really show what I could do as an actress. But I kind of always told my mom, like, I definitely think, I wonder what my career would have been if I had been white in this industry. Because,
Mm-hmm.
growing up young and Black, I just don't feel like there were a lot of opportunities for us. You know what I
Right.
mean? But Trina Robinson really was the first role that as a young Black girl I got to delve into a lot of things and emotions. The first time I was ever given a chance to even cry on screen, which like
Mm-hmm.
I had trained to do dramatic acting, but I never got to showcase it because no one had ever like written those roles
Yeah.
for me. So it was really fun to showcase that. And then as the show went on, I felt like Frank, the executive producer, really trusted me and started giving me a family. He brought back Riel, who plays Taggart, which was super cool, and brought in Brooke, who plays Portia, my mom, or who did play
Mm-hmm.
Portia, my mom, on the show. But it was just really wonderful to be able to like grow with this character and develop with her. It was really amazing.
Yeah. You mentioned something just now, and it's going to piggyback off my next question. I think a lot of times we go through these different generations, and people are like, "Oh, well, this," because I think you fall into Gen Z, right? You're 19. And people are always like, well, they have it so easy, right? Everything is just, you can go viral, you can do this. And I feel like even us as millennials, we're like, oh yeah, they have it so easy. They don't have to work as hard as we did. And as I'm hearing you speak, I'm saying to myself, your role may not be like mine, but the work is the work. You know what I mean?
Right.
And the hardships are just that, they're hard. And you mentioned like not having characters or roles made for women like yourself, right? And a
Yes.
lot of that has to go do with this being a Black woman, skin complexion, so many
Right.
different things that play into that. And I feel like if you can speak to that for a minute, what do you say to people who are like, well, yeah, they're Gen Z, they can go viral like this. They got TikTok, they got all of these things that they don't need to have, they don't have, or they aren't standing in line and going to these auditions. They're just 1, 2, 3 viral, and now all of a sudden they're famous.
Hmm. Oh, that's a definitely complex question. I would say that obviously, like, privilege still exists. We
Mm,
still see Black creators on social media platforms still fighting for their chance, to
yeah.
keep and monetize their work, even though, like, it's the work on TikTok it's our culture and our lingo and our dances and our fashion
Mm,
that's going viral, but it's not actually us getting the credit. So
yeah.
it's still us fighting for those things. It's still those, uh, you know, rules and kind of those constructs set into place that we're still having to fight against. So I wouldn't say that it's necessarily easier always, but I would say just creating your own, is what our generation is learning to do.
Yeah.
Obviously, like, there are historical setbacks, and so having to overcome them is just becoming more, just learning more about what to do, reading your contracts, learning how to monetize. Like, I know there was a big party, I believe, or like celebration about a lot of Black creators being able to like take the rights to their dances that they created. So like if they were to be used on like video games like Fortnite, that they could get money off of them. So I think we are just in a place where we're finally able to learn. Like, we're not just creating anymore, but we're also able to learn and take ownership of what's ours. So I wouldn't necessarily say it's easier. It's work that has to be done, and as these new platforms get created, it's new work that has to be done, new things that have to be learned. But I think it will get easier in the sense that we're able to create a space and then take ownership of that space.
Yeah.
So
and I think a lot, and for me, just to kind of add to that, I think, you guys are going into a lot of these spaces unapologetically yourselves, right? We're not trying to fit into a societal norm anymore. Like, you're going to respect me for who I am and what I bring to the table, or I got to go. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like, okay, well, I'm going to conform to this because I want to make it and then I'll change. It's take me as I am now or not at all. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's so true.
So what was it like working on Nickelodeon, the series School of Rock? First of all, I was binge watching because I was bored, and I was like, oh, let me just see what this is about. And it was actually a really good series. How was it like working on that for you?
It was definitely fun. Like I said, it was one of those where I got to come out of school a lot, which was really great.
Yeah.
I think I enjoyed, and I think kind of foreshadowed me working with Nickelodeon now, doing a series, the Transformers series, which is super cool. And I also did the Barbarian and the Troll, which was super fun as well.
Yeah.
So just a great network to be a part of.
Let's talk a little bit about that. I don't know how much you can share with me, but let's talk about Transformers. First of all, I'm not sure if you watch from the beginning, but I've been a Transformers like fanatic from the very first one. So to see it like ever evolve, right? Like at one point, I'm like, what else could they possibly do? Right? What could you possibly do? And then they just add more, and it's so dope. So what is it like for you to be a part of this amazing franchise of it all?
Yes. Okay. Well, I can basically give you like the plot line that you'll see from the ad, but essentially Robbie and his sister have gone to a new place where they kind of discover these new Transformers, and it's about the Transformers living with the family. So that's pretty much all I can give for now, but I
think well, I can also say that Robbie is just not anybody. Robbie's a lead character on this series. So I know you can't say much, but I wanted to get that out of there because I was biting my tongue. I needed to get it out. Let's talk about voiceover work. I've had an opportunity to do that, and it is such a free feeling experience. Like, first of all, you can show up in slippers and shorts and be fine and just be able to do the job and go home versus having to show up to set and change and makeup and all of this stuff that is time consuming. For you, what was it like to be able to do that?
It was really fun. When I first found out about the project, it was called Hometown Heroes. So then when it was revealed that it was Transformers, everyone was like, whoa, this is really happening. It's so cool. I think some people are really confused as to why I'm playing a boy. Like, a lot of people are like, what? Yeah, so I'm going to give away a big voiceover secret. Teenage boys most of the time will be played by girls because of puberty. So if they ever try to continue the series, they would have to keep replacing the boy every year because boys' voices don't stay the same. So if you can see it, Timmy Turner is played by a woman, Jimmy Neutron's played by a woman, a lot of the characters in Rugrats are played by women. So Naruto is played by women. Like 2 different women both play Naruto. So yeah, I would actually check if anyone's listening and they're like, I wonder if this cartoon I played by a guy or girl, like, you should check. Even Regina King, obviously, with Boondocks, both boys. So you should definitely check if you are watching a cartoon with a teenage boy. It's probably voiced by a woman.
First of all, that is so dope to even know. Like I knew that part, but to hear it again, it is so true. Like you would sit there and you would think this is a guy. You would think this is a guy playing, but this is a little girl with a nice little pitch voice until the voice drops, and then you're like, wait, this voice didn't sound the same.
Right.
Right. You know what I mean? So
Exactly.
that makes a lot of sense. For yourself, I like that you're working and you're also continuing your education. I know a lot of us, it's hard to do both. For yourself, how are you maintaining your bookings and all of these things going on and then trying to have this sense of normalcy?
Great question. I think it helps that I'm in college. UCLA is filled with some incredible people, entrepreneurs, activists, the list goes on. So even though I'm doing some amazing things, I look to my left and my right, and so are other people. So it's really inspiring to be around that many like-minded people who are also, going after what they want, which is really amazing. And as for balancing it, I just try to make it work. Yeah, just try to do the best I can. And I really appreciate General Hospital for being so accommodating when I was like, I'm ready to leave and really focus on my education. So I really appreciate that. But
you took a sigh, and I could feel the sigh. I remember being a college student and just being like, oh, it is so much. And you're going to school for sociology, which in itself is, whoo. So what are you trying to do in the future? What do you see yourself doing with this degree?
Great question. I think I've changed from sociology. Your first year is really about getting general education credits done. So that's like you have to get all these basic classes done before you can actually start what you want. So I kind of just chose something and I was like, I'll specify it as I take these general classes.
Yeah.
But I now think I want to do an AFAM major with a professional writing and film minor.
Nice.
Like now after a year, I'm like, okay, that's what I want to do. And what
that's
I
like
want
a lot of behind the scenes stuff.
It is.
Nice.
I really want to be a creative producer is what I'm looking into. And, I believe IP, so that's intellectual property. So you have to kind of find the stories in order to be able to create them. Yeah. And so I feel like a lot of times, especially like with historical movies, we repeat a lot of the same history. Like we see it over and over in different repetition. There's just so much that hasn't been told though. And every time I learn a little piece of my own history, I'm always like, wow, this would be so good in a movie. So it's like, get the money and then just fund that to be able to create it. Like Afro-surrealism is really my favorite genre of film to be created. So I would, love to see and create those and, making the strides to be able to do that. So that is what I'm thinking about now.
I like that. Do you see yourself playing a character that is so opposite you? And if it was, what genre would that be in for you?
Oh, so opposite me. Funny enough, I feel like a lot of times, especially voiceover wise, but I feel like I would love to play a tough girl. I usually do like in voiceover, so I think I've got kind of the knack for it because I feel like I'm a nice enough person, like more of a chill person. Like I'm not confrontational at all, so I like to play people that are confrontational, and that that's really fun. What genre? Obviously Afro-surrealism. I feel like because it's such a new genre. You don't know what to do with it, and there's like so much you can do.
Yeah.
And then like horror would also be super fun. I think those two would be like my favorite, but I'm really down to play and down to do anything. So if anyone's listening,
so you guys know who are watching right now. She laid it out here. So let's manifest this. I just couldn't do. I couldn't do horror. I just think that I would really be scared the entire time. I find myself every time I watch a Michael Myers movie, I go to bed and I dream about Michael Myers chasing us and killing us. I just wouldn't be able to recover. Like I would need therapy. It's just a lot to take.
Listen, from what I've already learned in my, film experience just being on sets, the more like outlandish it is, the funnier it is to shoot. You actually have to stay in character more because there's no music. There's no the camera angles is what a lot of times scares us, right? We'll be looking at one thing and it flips into someone else, but that's not actually how they shoot it. Right. So someone would be covered in blood, which is just sticky red syrup and screaming. And if you think about the absurdity of that, it's actually kind of funny. Like if you're shooting it and someone's with fake stuff on there, you know what I mean?
Right. And
Or
then
like if
like
you watch Nope, a lot of it's actually shot in the day. So like all this scary stuff you're watching, like they're shooting it in like broad daylight. So again,
oh
like a
wow.
lot of it is acting. Like they're just acting like a scary, acting like they're running, but it was shot like in the sun that I'm looking at right now. So it's not that scary.
Like yeah,
It's
everybody's
not.
walking, people are walking past, eating breakfast, and
Exactly. Exactly. Like no one is
oh
scared. So
man.
you actually have to bring the fear for yourself.
Mm,
It's nothing around you that's probably gonna scare you.
I love that. I do love that. If you could describe yourself to people who are listening right now in 3 words, what would they be and why?
Ooh, 3 words. Say I'm determined. I am passionate, and I can be. Hmm, ooh, third word. Third word. Determined, passionate, and excited. I'll say I'm
Mm,
excited.
okay. I like that. I like excited. For yourself, when you think about mentors and people that you look up to, if you could have dinner with anybody, dead or alive, that could mentor you right now, who would they be?
Issa Rae.
Okay. Why Issa?
Well, Issa and I actually also went to the same acting conservatory. Obviously we went at a different time, but I just think she's so cool being an LA native and then also being a mogul. I would really love to talk about how she got her show, off its feet into HBO, which is really amazing, and how she got to
Yeah.
tell a story that she wanted to tell because, I've professionally stalked her and always got to professionally. And
Right.
like something I know about the show was that a lot of people were like wanting to change her vision of what it was, and she had to be very much like, no, this is what it's
Yeah.
gonna be. That's risky, especially when you're with the big network. Not only getting your vision now put on screen, but like, no, it has to be this. It cannot be, X, Y, and Z. So I would love to talk to her just about how she was able to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
I
really cool.
like that. I do. I love Issa. And Insecure was probably oh, that's a whole nother conversation, right? Like that's a whole
It
nother
is. It
conversation.
is.
It was really, really good. If you could talk to somebody younger than yourself who are aspiring to do what you're doing right now, what words of encouragement could you give them?
Research. That is the best word I can use to sum up any journey that you want to take. Because research will reveal 2 things: that you don't know a lot of things that you need to know, or that you don't really want to do what you say you want to do. And that's
Mm,
exactly, honestly, how I knew I didn't really want to do a degree in sociology. And I was like, maybe it's time for me to switch. Because as
yeah,
I was learning more, I was like, I don't want to know the entire construct of every society. Like, this is not really what I'm interested in. So,
yeah,
research will really help you dig into the nitty gritty of what you say you want to do. And that can be with anything: baking, race car driving, acting, if you say that's your thing. But whatever it is, just the more you know,
yeah,
twice the better.
yeah. That is so important, right? Because a lot of or just kind of knowing if this is something you want to do now and giving yourself a time limit and then moving on to something else. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
there's so many lanes that we can tap into, but a lot of us are so scared, right? Like, hey, I'm going to stay here because it's convenient. Meanwhile, your blessing is right here, and you're missing
Right.
it because of your fear. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I definitely like that. So, I know growing up in South Cali and it's kind of coming from Inglewood and just living in this lifestyle. I mean, if you could speak to your younger self, what would you tell her now?
That is a good question. I can speak to my younger self. Hmm. I would tell her to don't be afraid to step outside of your comfort zone. That's definitely
Mm,
something I would say. To try new things, to not necessarily do anything differently. I think everything that you do leads you to the path you're on, and there are no like mistakes in that. But
yeah.
I would say to definitely like just challenge yourself and don't be afraid to do that.
Mm, I like that. So, what is coming up next for Miss Sydney? How can we support you and how can we just stay in touch?
Life is looking good. Things are looking great. That's actor lingo for I cannot say anything about anything, but
Hey!
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
But in the meantime, check out Transformers. That's coming out in November. Um, yes, other things. I'm like, don't mess anything up.
Because
So,
I can't say it either. So I'm like,
So check out Transformers coming out in November. There you go. And follow me, of course, on Instagram at official Sydney Mikayla and Twitter at Sydney Mikayla.
Oh, Sydney, it was such a pleasure getting to know you a little bit more. Thank you so much for being a part of One-on-One with Courtney Starks. I think I have one more guest, but you guys have made my season 4 so big. Thank you. Thank you so much. I will definitely stay in touch because I know what you have going on and I just can't say it. So I'm biting my tongue. But I'm so excited for you and I cannot wait to celebrate you. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to give you your flowers now.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Everybody, this is Sydney Mikayla. Please make sure if you are not following her, you go ahead and you do that. Why? Because I said so. Everybody, thank you for watching another episode of One-on-One with Courtney Starks. We'll be back with a brand new episode next week. I love you for watching. Have a good one.